Welcome to Hollywood and Sip. Today my guest is Alain Piallat, who is an author and former general manager for Marriott, and you were actually a VIP for the whole corporation, right?
Well, I was a general manager for 5 different hotels over a number of years, and then I went into the so-called corporate world, and I held a number of positions, including the last one before I retired, where I was president of Marriott Hotels of Canada.
So do you want to start with your book? Because I think the last time we chatted for the radio, it was just radio, and now this is going to be on YouTube also. So I think that opens you up to a whole new audience of people. Yeah. So let's talk about We Rocked, We Rolled, and We Opened.
Well, let me show you what the cover looks like. This is the story. The book is about the opening of the San Francisco Marriott, which is a 1,500-room hotel in downtown San Francisco. I was the opening general manager of that hotel, and on October 17, 1989, I officially opened the hotel in front of the San Francisco media at 9 o'clock in the morning, and at 5:04 that same night, that same evening, the Loma Prieta earthquake struck. So for years, kind of jokingly, I would introduce myself as the only general manager in the world that opened and closed a hotel on the same day. So it was quite an event. And for years, I would say to whomever wanted to listen to me that if I had any talent, I would write a book. And a friend of mine about it, and a friend of mine who is a writer convinced me to do it. And thanks to a number of people, you included, I was able to write the book, have it edited, have it published, and have it promoted by your good services. So the book is more than just the opening of the hotel, though it's an important part of it, but it is also about, I lived in the hotel, so the life of a general manager in a hotel, and then some of the stories along the way during my 30 years with Marriott. When you are in the hotel business, you meet a lot of people, and some very interesting and all kinds of situations arise. So I took advantage of writing the book about the opening of the hotel and talked a little bit about my career as well, and so on and so forth. So that's essentially what it is. It's on Amazon, and it's being sold at a number of bookstores, Sonoma in San Francisco. And I just saw that it was, for whatever reason, it was on Target yesterday. It was featured on Target. So
oh, wow.
I got to figure this one out. But so anyway, I think, I hope the book has been well received. Some people were, in San Francisco when the earthquake happened. So obviously it brought back a lot of memories. Some people are fascinated by the hotel business, and particularly what happens in back of the house, as we call it. And some people responded to the idea of leadership and what you have to do in times of a crisis, that kind of thing. So for different reasons, people seem to have enjoyed some aspect of the book.
I was thinking too, this is a really tough time to be in the hotel industry. It's probably kind of a relief that you're retired and you don't have to deal with all of the things. They sent out an email from the Marriott today, actually. What does it say? The founder, J.W. Marriott, used to personally inspect kitchens and guest rooms for cleanliness during his visits. And I was wondering if you had memories of that.
Oh, yeah. I know Bill Marriott quite well. He was always very good to me. He's retired now, but he's the ex officio chairman of the company. Still very involved, but for the first time ever, there is a CEO by the name of Arnie Sorensen. The name is not Marriott, but Arnie Sorensen has done a great job taking over Bill Marriott. But Bill Marriott would travel would visit 200, when I was involved, would visit 200 hotels a year towards the end of his career. So he would inspect kitchen and he would inspect rooms, and everybody was standing at attention when he came by. And his father, whom I had the privilege of knowing a little bit when I first started with the company 30 years, but I retired in 2005, so I started with Marriott in 74. I spent 30 years with Marriott. But I was built Mr. Marriott Sr., J.W. Marriott, also when they opened the company. Originally, the company was restaurants, essentially, then opened the first hotel in 1954. But he too would inspect kitchen and restaurants and bathroom facilities and so on and so forth. So it's a very big thing. But to your point, I can imagine how difficult it is. A lot of hotels have had to shut down. Hotels are very often managed by Marriott or are managed through some franchise agreements. But Marriott normally doesn't own the hotel. They manage them or they franchise them. And you have a multitude of smaller owners who own hotels throughout the world, literally, for whom it is extremely, extremely difficult, having to furlough people, having to shut hotels down in some cases. I was reading today in Los Angeles, hotels are being used for shelters, for people who need it, and nurses and firemen and so on and so forth. So it's great, but it is going to take quite a while, in my opinion, before the hotel business recovers, but it will recover. And Marriott will come back. But it's probably going to take a couple of years before people are comfortable enough to get back on their planes to go to hotels. And I think that the email that you were citing from Arnie Sorensen, the CEO of the company, is very important, because what Marriott is communicating is the fact that they've always been very, very big on sanitation and cleanliness and so on and so forth. But now you got to go to a much higher level, and they are responding to the crisis.
And I think this is a good time to jump into your most recent blog from last month. Where did I write the title down?
Well, let's give travel and tourism and hospitality the representation that it deserves.
Yes. So in writing that, what is your hope?
Well, let me make a statement. There are some excellent people who are involved with travel, tourism, hospitality at the national and international level. One of them is a friend of mine that I have a lot of respect for. I worked with him. In fact, he's the one who introduced me to my wife. Roger Dow is the president of the National Tourism Association in Washington, D.C. And he is a terrific guy, does a great job. The exact title is CEO of the U.S. Travel Association. That's what it is, USTA. And he was the chief marketing officer for Marriott for a number of years when I worked at Marriott, and I have a lot of respect for him. But what I was trying to express in the blog that I wrote was the fact that when you think about the importance of travel, tourism, and hospitality, it is gigantic. And it is part of the Commerce Department. I feel very strongly that being that important, it should have its own secretariat, so to speak. In other words, it should be, there should be a secretary of travel, tourism, and hospitality that, would have obviously top priority and would promote travel in the United States from throughout the world. Now, Roger Dow's organization, the U.S. Travel Association, does a great job. But I think that if we were to open the door to creating a special Secretary of Tourism, like we have Secretary of Commerce or whatever, that would give it some additional importance and might help the situation, particularly right now, as we are in the midst of a crisis, and it's probably going to take quite some time before business comes back. So that's there's no criticism on.
You said there's no criticism, and then your sound dropped out, so I can't hear you. Oh, there you go. Okay, so no criticism, but
I think it is important to position the industry at a much higher level by creating a Secretary of Tourism. And, somebody like Roger Dow could very well be the Secretary of Travel, Tourism, and Hospitality. I'm talking about taking it out of the Commerce Department and creating a very important entity, because the size of the industry in the United States and the rest of the world is gigantic.
Yeah, and to get just a little more local, I mean, Sonoma Valley pretty much exists. It's not solely on tourism, but it is a huge part of the revenue maker for Sonoma Valley. So what do you see happening here in particular?
Well, it's difficult to predict. I was at City Hall just a couple of days ago, and I was talking to the people at City Hall, and they've lost all of their revenue, which comes from tourism and hotel taxation. So it's pretty dramatic, as you well know. No visitors in town, so on and so forth. All the hotels are running, either shut down or running 10 or 15% occupancy. I think that Sonoma, to be specific as far as Sonoma is concerned, I think Sonoma is going to come back. It's going to take a little while, but it has the advantage of being not far from San Francisco. It has the advantage to be a beautiful area, one country, open space, and that kind of a thing. So I think it will come back. It will probably come back, in my opinion, faster than maybe some of the larger cities, because people will be less afraid to, come to a place like Sonoma, rather than going into those gigantic hotels. Now, the hotel that I managed with San Francisco Marriott Marquis, 1,500 rooms, relied on major conventions and so on and so forth. It's going to be interesting to see how quickly people are comfortable mingling with one another in, those large facilities. So I'm hoping that it will come back, and eventually it will come back, but it's going to take a little bit of time. Sonoma will probably be, it'd be easier, Napa Valley, Sonoma, people can walk around, you can have social distancing and still enjoying yourself, and so on and so forth.
Yeah, I can see that.
But it's the bulk of the economy. I mean, the Sonoma Valley, Napa Valley, this is it.
Right. And we're going to chat a little bit about Transcendence in a minute, but to wrap up this, that blog can be found at Alain Piallat, which is I'm gonna ALAINPIALLAT.com. I wanted to make sure I got the spelling out there because it's very French. And
you got it right, so that's good.
So the blog is on your website, and if people want to reach out to you and talk about the subject in the blog or more about this, what's the best way to reach you?
Well, through the blog or through Facebook and LinkedIn. Thanks to you once again. I'm on all those channels. I had to learn how to use it, and thanks to you, I am less remedial than I used to be. But thank God that you are at my side, because that would be difficult. But these are the vehicles where you can reach me and make your comments. And I respect that some people may have a different opinion, but to me, that the importance of tourism, travel, and hospitality has got to be super underlying.
So now you're kind of in a unique position because you took on a new role right before all of this happened. And the role you have is as a board member for Transcendence Theatre Company, which is a massive production company. And everything's going to shift this year. Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, I felt very honored and privileged to have been asked to join the board of Transcendence. For those people who don't know, Transcendence is a musical theater group with entertainers from Broadway. And the performances for the last 8 years have been here in Sonoma, in the Jack London Park, in the old ruins of an old winery in Glen Ellen. And the shows take place at night under the sky. It's called, Broadway Under the Stars, as a matter of fact. And the founders, Amy Miller, who's the artistic director, Brad Sorosky, who's the executive director, and Stephen Stubbins, who was one of the co-founders and now sits on the board, have created a concept and a product, a theatrical product, which is absolutely sensational. And they started out of nothing about 8 years ago. And now it's known regionally and attracts a lot of people. Well, obviously, and unfortunately, with the pandemic, with COVID-19, the group has been forced to shut down the outdoor performances, but made a decision, which I think is absolutely terrific, to go online. And I want to make sure that I know the terminology, but instead of having outdoor performances, they've created a series of performances which they refer to as the best night ever going online. The best night ever goes online. The best night ever was Amy Miller's tagline for a lot of her shows, and now they're going to have a series of shows and performances that are going to run from July 10 through September 13. And they are 4 shows that they have selected. The first one is Don't Stop Believing. The second one is the Fantastical Family Night. The third one is I Hope You Dance. And the fourth one is the Gala Celebration. So if you go on the website of Transcendence Theatre, you can see the dates, the specific dates of the performances. They are matinees and they are evening shows, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday with different times. And you can enjoy what they have created. But instead of being in a theater, even though it was an outdoor theater, it is now going to be online. But I can tell you unequivocally, having now been involved since the beginning of the year with them and understanding how they think and what they create, it's going to be outstanding.
Awesome. And I have here written down that they're calling it the 2020 virtual season.
That's
and
right.
And I should probably get Amy and Brad, since, they're sheltering in place together. I should have them do a Zoom with me and describe the shows.
They would do a much better job than I would. But I'm not the creative guy, but I'm certainly pleased to be part of the board.
Yeah.
And I think they have a tremendous future. If there is any silver lining in terms of what happened, is that they always had a vision of having national and international exposure. And with the online performances, there is a possibility to achieve that.
That's wonderful. And I know they're also doing some online classes for kids in grades 1 through 5.
Yeah, I should have mentioned that because this is a very important part of what they do. They had summer camps for the kids, classes where they would teach kids arts and dance and music and so on and so forth. and they have a director of the educational program by the name of Nico Kimson. And Nico is absolutely phenomenal, has a lot of energy, and they've created a series of classes online that they are distributing to all the school system in the general area.
That's just amazing. I love that. And that information is probably at the website too.
Yeah, it is also at the website, yeah.
So before I let you go, I wanted to tell you that, to give the audience a little background, I was lucky enough to get to go with you in an all behind the scenes tour of the San Francisco Marriott, which is now the San Francisco Marriott Marquis. And in doing that, we made a fun little video of all of the employees coming out. They hear your voice, they run out and see you. It was just a magical day, I think. And I wanted to let you know that I loaded it to my YouTube page today so that when people go to see this video on YouTube, they'll also see that experience from 30 years after opening the hotel, seeing a lot of the employees that are still there.
Yeah, well, first of all, I'm very grateful that you did what you did in shooting this video. Number two, it was very humbling to, go back 30 years after the opening of a hotel, and they still had 200 of the so-called charter employees. It means people who were there at the opening, still there 30 years later, and be able to remember me, which was very humbling. And we had a terrific day, and even though I try not to go to the hotel too often, there's there's new people and so on and so forth. It's not my hotel anymore, but I still enjoy going there, and it's nice to see all the people that we had the chance to meet on that particular day.
Yeah. So we've been talking to Alain Piallat, who is an author. We rocked, we rolled, we opened, and a board member for Transcendence Theatre here in Sonoma Valley. And I guess go find you on social media.
Well, thanks to you, they will be able to do that. So I appreciate what you've done for me, and very grateful.
And there will be links in the description below the video, so you'll be easier to find.
Okay, well, thank you very much for having me on today.
And thanks for chatting with us. So that's